Bristol Community College, Mathematics with Dan Avedikian, Math 132, Calculus with Applications, Section 10.1, Problem 5. This is Section 10.1, Problem 5, and it says consider the graph of the function shown below, and there's a picture of a graph, and then they ask 5 questions about the graph. The first question, part A, says find f of 0 and f of 6. So the f of 0 basically is asking you, if you put in a 0, what do you get out? Which means if you go over 0, how far up or down do you have to go before you get to the function? Well, if you go over 0 means you're right at the origin, and what you would have to do is go up to a height of 3 before you got to the function. So what you're getting out is 3. So f of 0 is positive 3. And part A also says find f of 6. So what that means is if you go to the graph and you go over positive 6 on the x-axis, how far up and down do you go before you hit the function? And what happens is you hit the function at a height of 0. It crosses through it over 6 up 0. And again, it's saying if you put in a 6, what do you get out is a way of asking it. So f of 6 equals 0. And then part B is the same question, essentially asked in a little different format. It says, if x equals 4, what is f of x? And again, remember when you deal with functions, f of x and y is interchangeable. You could ask the question, if x is 4, what is y? It's the same thing. So if I go and find the point on the graph that has an x coordinate of 4, what's the y coordinate that goes with it? And remember to pay attention to keep your x and y coordinates straight in your head. If I go over to where I have an x coordinate of 4, the y coordinate that goes with it is positive 3. So the answer to B is 3. And essentially it's asking, if you put in a 4, what do you get out as an output? If the input's 4, the output's 3. Part C is the same numbers, but kind of the other way around. Part C is saying, if f of x is 4, what is x? Or again, you could change that to, if y is 4, what is x? So if I look at the graph of the function, I do find a point labeled with a y coordinate, or f of x coordinate of 4, and the x coordinate that goes with that is 2. So again, if we got out a 4, what we must have put in as an input as a 2 is a different way of looking at that. And that's the answer to part C. D, what is the domain of the function? Again, the domain is what you can use as an input value. And they can ask that question when you see the function written as an equation or the function drawn out as a graph. In terms of the graph, the answer for domain is what x values are covered by the graph of the function. So the furthest left point on this graph has an x coordinate of negative 6. The furthest right point on this graph has an x coordinate of 11. So the domain is from negative 6 to positive 11. And as with other questions of this nature, you can write that in different notations. If I see that on a test, that's okay. I'll give you credit. I understand. It can be written in a shorter format. You can put negative 6 comma 11 in brackets. Or you can say negative 6 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to positive 11. Those are all acceptable ways of writing the answer for domain. And the last part, part E, what is the range of the function? The range is what you can get as an output. And again, that type of question could be asked when the function is given to you in the form of an equation or in the form of a graph. When you get the question, what is the range, and the function is shown in the form of a graph, what you can get as an output is really what y coordinates are covered by the graph. So the lowest point on the graph has a y coordinate of negative 3. The highest point on the graph has a y coordinate of positive 4. So the range is from negative 3 to positive 4. And like the domain, you can write that in other formats if you like. That's fine if you write like a sentence from negative 3 to positive 4. You could also put negative 3 comma positive 4 and put that in brackets. Or you could put negative 3 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to positive 4. Those are all fine. I would be happy with any of them.